Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Carla Elizondo. I am a coach and a principal teacher at the Napoleon Hill Institute, as well as a licensed psychotherapist. And I am joined here with my beautiful friend, mastermind partner, and sister, Kate Wilkes.
Carla, how are you? Hi, everyone. I am so excited to have our discussion today. These mindset resets, I'll tell you, it's going from one, the first and third Wednesday of every month, going from one to the next. I don't know about you, but it generates a lot of ideas on
Yeah,
my end.
it really does.
Yeah, so I'm excited about our topic today. So my name is Kate Wilkes. Some of you might know me as Kathy, and I am certified in three areas: life transformation, the laws of success, which is Napoleon Hill, and also universal law, which we're going to be talking a little bit more about today, right, Carla?
Yes, everything from it's really living from the inside out. I know last time we were on, the first Wednesday of this month, we spoke about goals. We spoke about really what the mind is and what mindset is. But we wanted to tap into the six higher faculties. You know, what is really the creation factor? It's the six higher faculties, living from the inside out. And that's what we want to talk about today. So, yes,
Yes,
universal
so
laws and
good.
all that. Hmm.
So good. Maybe we'll start out by saying, most of us, like when we're getting results that we don't want, right? We notice in our environment that we're getting results that we don't want. A lot of times that comes from using the five senses. And I remember, Carla, when we were working with Bob Proctor, one of the things that he taught us was that the five senses are really designed and given to us as a gift to make meaning out of what's already manifested.
Yep.
So it's not the creative faculty. So if we're trying to create by what we hear, see, smell, taste, and touch, by the current results, if we're trying to create from that place, we're only going to get more of the same. And I remember being on that treadmill at one point in my career, and I was like, what is going on? Have you ever been there, Carla?
Yes, and that's what's called living from the outside in. I am taking in with my five physical animal senses what's already done.
Yeah.
I'm taking on the history. This is a receipt. Every single thing in our life, every single result in any area of my life, your life, all of our life, the creation that is already done is ancient history. It's the past. And if I take that in with my five physical senses and I allow that to dictate how I feel, think, and act, I will just get more of what is already created. And what Kate is really setting us up for today is how do we create something new, especially if we do not like the existing results that are on the outside? And I just spoke the other day about Bob Proctor, our mentor, talked about this quote from one of Archibald MacLeish's famous plays. He used to say, anything or what makes a man different than any other animal is his mind. Everything else you can find in a pig or a horse. So if you have any pets at home, a dog, a cat, they can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. We can see, hear, smell, taste, touch. We're animals at the end of the day. But do we act from those lower five animal senses? Or what makes a man, our higher faculties? Why are we the apex creature? Because we were gifted these six higher faculties. We have the perception, the will, reason, imagination, intuition, and memory. Those are the six higher faculties. We'll probably dive into a couple today. I think I have a top two. I'll love to hear Kate's, but that's what we're going to talk about today. So, yes, I have definitely been there. I've been on that treadmill. I have just let the outside world dictate my life. And knowing this material now has completely changed, saved my life. I'll just be honest, it saved my life.
Yeah, I mean, it really has mine too, Carla. And I know we're not really going to go there today, but when you think about what's going on, the kind of the resonant vibration of what's going on in society, is fear, right? The predominant feeling out there is fear. And what happens when we take what's outside and we blame so and so or such and such or this or that, we lose our power. We completely relinquish the power that's within us by living from the outside in. So I want to hear your top two. What are your top two?
So, my top two of the six higher faculties, imagination for sure. Ooh, and now that but intuition, imagination and intuition. Those are my top two. What about you?
Oh gosh. Okay. So mine are imagination and the will, followed by intuition, and perception. So,
Ooh, perception. I know.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's the beauty of the mastermind. So think about the mastermind that we have going with Amy and Molly. So when one of us has something going on where we bring it to the mastermind, we want to generate some new ideas, some solutions. The beauty of that is that we all come with a different perception. So it's like taking a beach ball. And if I'm holding a beach ball, I might see red on my side, but you might see green
Mhm.
on your side. So very often when I'm in a discussion with someone, I'll say, well, from my side of the beach ball, this is what I see.
Yeah.
And it's the same beach ball. It's the same situation, circumstance, condition, but it's just a different perception. And perception can be very powerful, don't you think?
It's everything. I remember there was a story that I heard in grad school, and you guys, you might have heard it before. And it was about the story, and I might botch it, but it's the story of the father and the son that used to drive up every summer to visit family. And the father was in the driver's seat, of course, and the son was in the passenger seat. And the son just really could never connect with his father. And his father always seemed grumpy and complaining and negative and never could see the beauty in life. And it really always disappointed the son. And that was the only time they were together. And so they used to drive on this beautiful road every summer to visit family. And it was just father-son time. And the son used to look out of his window and say, God, what the beautiful trees. What the gorgeous nature this is. And he used to say his father only complained and said, oh, these roads just keep getting worse. Look at all the trash. It's just so dirty. Where is this world going to? Year after year, it would be the same conversation. And one year the son just gave up. He sat quiet in the seat and said, you know what? I can't connect with my dad. My dad's just negative. He doesn't see the beauty in life. He doesn't see my beauty. Well, the father passed away, and the son was older now and driving up that same road to go visit family. And now he was in the passenger seat, a father now. I'm sorry, the driver's seat. And he was the father now. And his son was sitting in the passenger seat. And his son was saying, wow, look at these trees. This is really cool rocks. And the man telling the story, looked out of his window and he saw the view. It was a dirty river and a ditch that had trash and graffiti.
Wow.
And in that moment, he forgave his father and said, oh my God, my dad was telling the truth. That was his view. That was his perception from his window.
On the
My
side.
whole life, I judged him. He was just telling the truth. He wasn't seeing out of my window. And I didn't even think to what he was seeing out of his window. So in that moment, seeing through a different window, seeing through a perception of someone else's eyes, how they see the world, can make you, number one, understand, have, knowledge and compassion for why that person talks, thinks, acts, and behaves. Not that it makes it okay sometimes, but at least you can understand and have compassion for someone.
Yeah. Yeah. And empathy too, really understanding that they are looking through a different lens. One of the beauties of the work that we do, I think, especially on the spiritual side, I'll call it the spiritual side of success, where we're tapping into these 6 higher faculties, is that it is the creative center of who we are.
Yeah.
So regardless of, when we think about, like, even one of the greats, Neville Goddard, in the early 1900s, talked about thinking from the end, realizing and believing that, wow, if this had happened yesterday, like, pretend this happened yesterday, pretend you reached your goal yesterday. How would you feel today? How would you be living today? If that car that you've always wanted, we study now with Dr. Joe Vitale, and he gave the example, he's a car guy. One of the things that he loves is cars. And so picture whatever car that you want, whatever it is that you want, picture that car in your driveway. Like, you just pulled up in the driveway, got out of the car and came into the house. Like, how would you feel after that ride? And so it's so important to use the 6 higher faculties. So perception, yeah, I mean, even though my top 2, imagination, will, I think perception is still, and intuition, both really, really close up to those top 2.
It really is. And now that I think about it, I mean, they're all so powerful and they work together. But there is this, I love studying with different teachers. And one of my biggest mentors used to teach me like the building theory of like, think of yourself as a building. You're a structure. You were born into this body. You were born into this life. We can't undo it. It is what it is. We were handed the cards that we were dealt. But we can play those however we want. And perception, changing our perception and the way we see, is the only thing that we really have control over, choosing our thoughts, how we're going to look at something. So think of yourself as a building, and the higher up you go in that building, the better the view. So when you are in a situation, wherever you're at in life, how can you see it differently? I'm also a student of A Course in Miracles. That's my spiritual practice. I call it my spiritual and emotional sobriety. And one of the sayings is, I'm willing to see this differently. How can I see this differently? Right now, I don't. Right now, the way I'm seeing it, right now, the way I'm perceiving this is causing me a lot of pain, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, a lot of judgment, a lot of, grievance toward this person or this situation. But how can I flip my perception to a higher level and see it from a different point of view? So for me, perception, that higher faculty, has saved relationships. It's like, again, I say it saved my life, and I don't mean to be dramatic. I used to be addicted. I used to be depressed. I used to, suffer from anxiety. And it's this kind of work. And we were just talking about that before the call. A lot of people think it's just coaching, it's just personal development. But Kate and I have been through things, and we know, and I'm sure you have as well, that this is so much deeper. It's so much deeper when you just study it as, I want to achieve my goals, which there's no problem with that.
Yeah.
We get to a point where there's always a deeper level, and we realize we might have the car, we might have the house, we might have the relationship, but there's still this hole, this emptiness, this little longing. And that's really that deep spiritual connection with yourself. That is the crux of everything. That's what I used to love about studying with Bob. He always touched on that.
Yeah, he did. And what you're saying, Carla, is what I hear you saying is this, that transformation is not one dimensional. It's just not one aspect of what we do. You and I are students of this. We are in this material every single day because there's no end to transformation. Once you reach a certain level in living and life and income, whatever it is, there's always another level. And it's not about the getting. And Bob said this, we talked, I think, on an earlier Mindset Reset about what is success, the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. What is that worthy ideal? It's the highest version of who we can become. Well, the way that we express that as humans is we set a goal, something that we want. It's a way of living. It's a thing. It's a vacation. It's whatever it is. But in the process of growing into the person that's a match vibrationally for that thing, for that level of result, it's the process of the growth that happens that allows you to become, like you were talking about, those levels in a building, that allows you to live more and more frequently in the penthouse.
Yep.
Rather than going up and down and up and down. And we see that so frequently with people who get into coaching, and they'll come into a 6-month program. They'll reach a certain level. They'll feel really great about where they are. But what happens? Life happens. And they start to perceive their life by what's going on around them instead of understanding that the power is within them. Whatever it is that we want to accomplish, as long as it's within the bounds of nature, we can accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And most people stop and say, well, how am I going to do that? Not understanding that that's not our job.
Right.
The pathway is not our job. It's the end. It's the destination that we get to define. And so when we think about even intuition and imagination, it all rolls into that same idea that if you want something different, creating that picture, using your imagination to create the picture of what it is. It's a scene where you're vacationing with your parent, with your family. Maybe you're leading an organization that's attained a certain level. Maybe it's whatever kind of success. Once you attain that thing, there's always going to be something else. And the earlier we can grab these principles and say, you know what, and become aware, oh my gosh, I'm getting in harmony with what I don't want. Let me shift. And I
Yeah.
think that's where the power of the six mental faculties come in, because we can say, look at that. Isn't that interesting? And get curious about, I'm thinking about something that I don't want over and over again, and it's repeating in my life. Okay,
Yeah.
how do I change that? So maybe let's go into that, Carla. Like, how do we, what's one way that our listeners can take this idea of, wow, we have these six superpowers. How do we play into that? How do we use them? Where do they learn that from?
Right. Well, studying number
Mhm.
one is the key, because we can't just hear a one-off, like even here, Kate and I. It's
Mhm.
repetition. Repetition, studying these principles. If you're serious, and if you're on this call, especially if you know Kate, my goodness, you are a winner. Like, we only like attracts like. And so as you hear us talk, something resonates. Something's resonating. So how to use these six higher faculties? Study yourself.
Mhm.
Put yourself in a position where you're going to be held accountable, whether it be, taking a course, getting into a mastermind group, signing up for coaching, whether it be with us or somebody else. But get serious, because if it was free in life, right? If everybody just learned off of a YouTube or a free training, everybody would be doing this. But what we found is it's not the information, it's the application, it's the embodiment. It's really integrating this work is what I see, and I know Kate, you would agree, is the difference between somebody who succeeds and somebody who doesn't, who continues to live the same experience over for decades. I was that person. I used to wake up month after month, year after year, decade after decade in the same position, like it was a nightmare. And I would be like, I had these big dreams, these big goals. I used to study this. I used to watch the free videos on YouTube, all the free trainings, sign up for any masterclass or digital course. And 5 years would pass, 10 years would pass. And if I was honest with myself, I journal and I'm like, yeah, maybe a little furniture changed. I rearranged the furniture, but nothing substantial had changed. I had nothing to really grasp and feel proud. Not that our achievements are supposed to make us proud, but it's just a receipt of our mental will of creation. I mean, that's what we're here to do. Why are we getting up? I know we mentioned before, what do you want? If we don't even know what we want or what we're working towards, that is a very, very scary place to be. Because why are we getting up in the morning? What is pushing us to live life? And it's an iterative process. So studying these goals, I would say number one, studying these goals, studying yourself. That's what this is really about. It's a
Yeah.
self-study process, studying yourself. So finding that accountability, putting yourself on the hook so that we can't wiggle away or do it at our convenience, right? This is not something that, like in the therapy world, we suggest self-care. At this point, I'm not suggesting it. If you're serious about changing your life, this is not a suggestion, it's a non-negotiable. And I'm very black and white about that. And some people don't like that. Some people aren't ready to take full responsibility, full accountability, and that's okay. But we all reach a point where we hit that wall. So when it comes to studying these six higher faculties, surround yourself with like-minded people. That's the number one thing. When I want to pull my hair out and think, oh my God, I wasted years, I wasted decades. Oh my God, what would I tell my younger self? Get around like-minded people. Surround yourself with people who are winning, people who have results that you want, people that will not meet you at your lower levels, somebody who will cheerlead you, people, a group that'll cheerlead you and bring the best out of you. That's what I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with everything that you just said. Um, One of the things that came to mind when you were talking, Carla, is this idea where um, it's very easy to kind of jump on a not kind of, but it's easy to jump on a bandwagon when people are like, oh, that's just the way that it is. And it's always been that way. And it's very easy to get in cadence with that slower vibrational rhythm. And if you don't have a goal, right? We talk about drifters versus leaders. It's very easy to drift when you don't have a goal, when you don't have your sights set on something. I did a talk last week for a wonderful group of women, and one of the women came up to me afterwards and she was saying, well, I don't know, I'm pretty good. I'm good where I am now. I don't have a big goal. But I think through the conversation after my talk, I was visiting with several members, and through that talk, she messaged me later that evening and said, you know what, you've inspired me to think like that there's more. There's really more that I can do with my business. And she's a business owner. So thinking that, okay, this is status quo and it's good enough. People, we were not designed for good enough. We
No.
were designed to keep growing. And if you're the type of person who wants to kind of stay where you are, just know that everything is moving. We live in an ocean of motion. There's no status quo. There's no staying the same because if we're not actively growing, we're going to deteriorate in some area of our lives. It could be our work. It could be our relationships. It could be our ability to really love and care for ourselves. Carla, what you said about studying yourself, I can't tell you how many times I heard that from Bob Proctor, where he said, if you could study anything, study yourself and apply the principles, because it's the application of the principles that transforms. Otherwise, it's just more knowledge. Right? It's going to school and getting another degree, but then you don't do anything with that degree.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a painful place to be. And it's, how many times, and I found this too, I was that person. We continue to throw money at things um, that aren't getting the ROI, the return on investment.
Yeah.
We think that this or that, it's like we're not consistent. I would say that's also a number. Be consistent. What deeply resonates with your soul? What deeply resonates with you? What teacher? What message? What do you know to be true? When we hear the truth, we know it. What really, and it's challenging. It's like, ooh, that's going to be scary. That's going to be uncomfortable. When I went through my graduate program for my master's in psychology, I realized very quickly, oh wow, this is a deep dive into my own psyche. I must understand myself to be, and I was like, ooh, this is, can I
Yeah.
quit? Can I get out of this program? It was, this is the way I use this visual. It was like I put this, one of those searchlights on your head, and I was dropped down by ropes down into the cave of my subconscious mind. Had to take, like, as they say in recovery, a fearless moral
Yeah.
inventory. Although the fear was there, it was a fearful moral inventory. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, who wants to do this? I paid for this. Oh God, I can't. But once you get down there and you shed the light on it, it's the scariest part. The scariest part is jumping in. And everything will keep you from that. Other people, don't spend money on that. Don't do that. They just want your money. That's just a waste of time. You believe all that mumbo jumbo? It's like 98% of people believe that way, and 98% of people get the results that are just, default in this world. That's what Kate was saying, is that most people just drift. They have no rudder, as Napoleon Hill and Earl Nightingale says. Think of yourself as a ship. If you don't have a goal, you have no rudder. You're directionless. Where are you headed? And I was just trying to look up, we did this event, Drifter to Leader, with the Napoleon Hill Institute, and I had some slides, I did some presentations, and it's just hilarious. They say, people think that they're just going to drift to greatness. You're just going to wake up one day because you're a good person, because you tithe, because you give to charity, because you're kind and you let someone through in traffic. That is not just being a nice person. That's standard.
Mhm.
You have to dive deep and make these changes. We don't just accidentally wake up and find ourselves at the top of the mountain. It takes work, but we don't understand that once we get on that trail, it is so exhilarating. It is so exciting. It makes you feel alive again.
Yeah.
You're going somewhere instead of just
Yeah.
like bobbing on the ocean of life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to point out something too, that this is what we're saying here is no judgment. Like if you're okay with your life, there's absolutely no judgment. We're here to talk to the people who want more, who just don't know how to get there, who don't understand why they're stuck. I mean, if you're stuck, know that you're like 100% of the people out there. Everybody gets stuck at some point in their lives. What we're saying is that we have a tool and tools and a process to take you through that period, through that kind of valley where you say, I want this, but I'm over here.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want this, but I'm stuck over here. I want this, but I don't know how. I want this, but I don't know if I'm good enough, if I'm worthy enough. I mean, that's a whole nother topic of conversation. So it's not that we're saying that you have to do this, and if you don't, it's better or worse. It's not, there's not a better or worse, because the fact of the matter is there is no private good. So if Carla is improving, she's helping us all. If I'm improving, I'm helping everybody. The coaches that we work with at the Napoleon Hill Institute, same thing. So we're just looking for that constant sense of betterment. And that's, Carla, what you said that is so true. It gives you that sense of aliveness. Like, why do you get up in the morning?
Yeah.
You know, and if you're getting up in the morning and kind of going through the motions and thinking that, okay, let me just get to the place where I can retire. I was having a conversation with somebody this morning about, well, what is retirement? What happens? And he was telling me about his mom and how the whole body slows down. The thinking slows down. We think that sitting on the beach for the rest of our lives is going to be a great thing. But I got to tell you, I live here at the beach full time, and I did that for a week. And after a week, I was like, I got to do something. I got to get back to work. You know, thinking that this was going to be my lifestyle was, I was so disillusioned to the fact that, oh no, I mean, maybe a day or two, you know, throughout the week, I'll go down to the beach for part of the day, but there's so much more. If we allow it to come to us, the only thing that can shut us down is when we allow the outside to control who we are, when we allow the outside to influence our thinking, when we allow the outside to influence the decisions we make about ourselves. I mean, how many times, I know, Carla, when I first started my journey, people are like, well, who are you to be a coach? I'm like, you have a mortgage background. Like, but you know what? It's not, if I had listened to those people, you know, that said, you're going to step away from the corporate environment. What are you doing? You know, you're not going to go get another job? No, I'm not, because this is what I was designed to do. This is what I was meant to do. And when you figure out, when you really understand and connect with like the power and potential that's inside of you, maybe it is staying in a corporate job. Nothing against a corporate job by any means.
Yeah.
I mean, I am grateful and thankful for the experience, the financial gain, the friendships, all of that.
Yeah.
But finding your own unique expression of what you want to do, it could be in the job that you have right now, but you could infinitely up level your
Yeah.
performance, right?
Yes, and what you're saying is like I think I'm one of the last generations, like, my parents or anybody, that was is over 40 basically. It's like we were programmed, we were trained for safety, security, get a 501k, be responsible, have health insurance. And again, like Kate was saying, there's nothing wrong with that if you work a 9 to 5, if you support your family and you enjoy it, you love it, you love weekends off, all this. However, when we get to a point where we can retire and we can shift, maybe early retirement, whatever it is. I don't know if Bob said this, but this is what I picked up from him. And I used to say this myself. Do what you got to do until you can do what you want to do. Do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do. So, what does retirement look like? Like the conversation you had with that person. I would reframe it in a way of like, retire from the thing that you had to do that got you to a secure place and step into the thing that you've always wanted to do, that a creative expression. So you're not retiring and just sitting on the beach all day. You're retiring from the field work. You're retiring from everything you've learned. You're retiring from raising a great family, from, getting that house, securing yourself so you can retire from that and step into this whole new version of more freedom, more peace, more excitement, more exuberance in your life. And it will help everybody around you. So instead of it being this scary, daunting, or, boring, what am I going to do now? It's like, you're just retiring from the old way, the old paradigm that you've grown out of, and you're stepping into this brand new version. I love that.
Yeah. Even, even the idea of creating that next chapter while you're in that stable job or while you're in the current environment, rather than thinking you're working towards something where you're going to stop. Because life doesn't stop. Even if you stop working, life doesn't stop after that. So I love that, Carla, the idea of what is that next expression that you get to do because of the time that you've put maybe into a current career. And that's where the imagination comes in, the mental faculty of imagination. A lot of times in school, we tell kids not to daydream. But one of the things I learned from Bob is that it's really important to create that space Even if it's to and from your job, if you're commuting or maybe you're not commuting, maybe you set aside time at home, but really to go into that, if you're a journaler or if you like to meditate, whatever it is that you like to do to just kind of calm and slow your mind down, to be able to think of what would I love to do? What would I really love here?
Yeah.
What would I love for that next step? What have I always wanted to do? And a lot of times, even for me, a lot of what I do now, those ideas came to me when I was a kid. I just didn't pay attention because I was told you go to college, you get a job, and then you retire. I mean, that's the old paradigm, right?
Yeah.
But but yeah, so this idea of using your imagination and your intuition. Let's talk
Mhm.
about that for a minute, because that's a really, really powerful one. That idea of, that still small voice inside, or the gut feeling.
Mhm.
And so how does that present to you, Carla, when you're like tapped into your intuition? What does that feel like?
So it's not a something out here. It's the way that I like to, well, I was taught to really think about intuition is it is a knowing, and you're receiving information in an energetic level
Mhm.
that has not yet manifested into physical form. So it's like information that you don't have proof yet. It's information that is kind of whispering to you and speaks to me in my gut. I always feel it in my solar plexus. It's a feeling. It's just a knowing that when I am quiet and I am tapped in, and it doesn't always make logical sense because it's not logical. It's nothing that has manifested yet. It's like,
Yeah.
well, why do I not want to go? I always use this story about when I was in Hawaii and I was going to go skydiving, but when I woke up that morning, I just had this feeling, and it wasn't scary. It wasn't like the plane's going to crash or your parachute's not going to open. It was just, I just didn't want to go. It was just this gut feeling of, and it was calming. It wasn't fearful or like scary. It was just, I just don't really want to go today. Today, it was, I don't want to go skydiving ever, but I listened to my intuition. I said, you know what? I called and I canceled the thing. I said, I'm just not feeling like it this morning. I have no idea what would have happened. I have no idea. It doesn't matter. It's not my business. All I knew is that my intuition was speaking to me that I just probably shouldn't go. I have also not listened to my intuition when I went out one night and I said, I really kind of want to stay home. I think I should stay home. I had this weird feeling, intuition. It was a feeling, and I disregarded it and I went out anyway. I ended up getting into loads of trouble, and it was a life-changing situation that it's, not it was an unelegant moment, let's just say that. So
I love that.
intuition, intuition for me
Yeah.
is, it's a feeling that speaks to me regarding any situation that I'm in, and it's information that always doesn't make sense. It helps me discern um kind of the direction I should go. That's kind of how, if that made sense.
Yeah, it did make sense, and it does make sense. One of the ways that intuition shows up, so I also will get a gut feeling. Um, First of all, it's important what you said about the voice of intuition is soft. It's
Yeah.
not loud, and it's not fear. It's not that agitated, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to fall off the deep end. It's not agitated. It's very calm. It's very quiet. It's very soft and elegant.
Mhm.
And so it could be a gut feeling. For me, a lot of times it'll be an idea. And
Yeah.
I'll get an idea, like somebody's name will drop into my mind that I haven't talked to in maybe years. And I always believe, like, if that name dropped in to my awareness, my conscious awareness,
Mhm.
then I'm going to call them. I'm going to send them a voice text. I might reach out to them on LinkedIn or on Facebook, but I'm going to reach out to them because I have no idea what that person is going through. And if I can be a source of support and love for that person, I'm going to take that step. And there's a reason for that connection. And like you said, Carla, this is so true. We might not ever know why.
Yeah. And
We might-
you might never know what your text that you sent did for them that day, and it's not our business. It's just we have
Yeah.
to obey the commands. We have to listen, we have
Mhm.
to hear, and obey. Those are my three words. Like, take the time to listen, hear what's happening, and just obey. Like, you don't know why, it doesn't make sense. I never
Yeah.
heard anything back, but just obey.
Yeah. And sometimes it can be life changing. I mean, sometimes you don't know, but sometimes it can be life changing.
Yeah.
I recently reached out to a young woman who needed help. I had no idea she needed help. Had no idea she needed help, but she ended up joining my team. So it was a match. She was looking for something. She was seeking an opportunity that it was on the same vibration of an opportunity that I was offering. And now
Mm.
she's thriving.
Oh,
Before she was languishing, now she's thriving. But had I not reached out to her, she wouldn't be thriving. At least in this. Would another opportunity come along for her? Probably so.
yeah.
Probably so. But because we've been reunited, we used to work together, because we've been reunited, it's been such a joy, and she's a young mom. So it's been such a joy to watch her kind of blossom in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So we don't really know, but it could be, I really believe that's how Steve Jobs started the iPhone, the iPad.
Yep.
I
Yep.
really believe that those ideas came to him and he took action while people thought he was nuts.
Yeah.
And I was talking about the iPad this morning, how he would get on stage and talk about the iPad. And he was almost foreshadowing how you were going to feel. Oh, it's fantastic. You're going to love it. This is nothing like this ever before invented. This is going to be the first of its kind. And it was all of that and more.
Yeah.
But he set the stage where? In his mind first.
Mm-hmm. And we were just talking about the replay because, again, we're a part of the Napoleon Hill Institute, and they have their signature program, the Think and Grow Rich Mentorship. And Dr. Joe Vitale, who was just announced the new president of the Napoleon Hill Institute, he is now teaching every other week that course. And his first lesson was yesterday. And he was talking about what Napoleon Hill says about imagination being the most important faculty. It's the workshop of the mind, as James Allen says. But he says, that famous quote, one of his favorite quotes, and he always wears that t-shirt: whatever the mind can conceive through the imagination
Yeah.
and believe, it can achieve. So what Kate is saying now is it's the starting point of everything, your imagination. It's how we create everything. Everything is created through the faculty of our imagination. What are we thinking? What are we imagining? What pictures are going through our mind? Where is our fantasies and our dreams and our desires? What do we daydream about? What do we
Yeah.
want? What did Steve Jobs want, right? All these amazing, what is Elon Musk? All these great, people, all the artists and creators and inventors, Edison. So using the faculty of imagination. Now, the second part is where everyone gets it twisted. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
Can you believe it? This is really where the rubber hits the road. And that's why, again, not that you need anything, but it behooves us to get around people who believe in us, who will support us, who will encourage us, and keep us accountable to create that belief within ourselves. And again, that's another topic of self-image and really believing in yourself and getting rid and weeding out of all of the blocks that we have to achieving our success, which Kate and I both truly understand is the most important part. And Dr. Joe Vitale talks about that too. It's not so much about, bulldogging it to get there, taking the bull by the horns and making it happen and through force. Sometimes it's just eliminating all the things that hold us back, and then we just naturally propel forward towards it. So
Yes, he talked about that yesterday. He talked about when we clear, I'll say it this way. He didn't say it this way, but I'll say it this way. When we clear everything that's not serving us in our lives, including beliefs. So most of the time it's a belief. There's some kind of an underlying belief that is causing you to do things in a certain way that's getting you a result that you don't want. Well, if it's in the subconscious mind, how do you know what that belief is? Well, beliefs beget behavior. So you can look at your behavior, you can look at your results, you can look at whatever the physical evidence is in your world to track back to what that belief is. But when you clear those beliefs out, he said, you get into this situation where you're accelerating toward your goals. It's like being able to run, like pretend you're running with one of those weight jackets on, like they do in the military. The soldiers are running with those big backpacks.
Mhm.
And if you were to let that 100-pound backpack go, imagine how much faster you could go, how you could accelerate. Like, I love the feeling of just thinking about that.
Yes, it's,
I'm glad
what
you brought that up.
as you're talking, it's like I always feel, and I'm sure anybody who's watching this, if you've ever been excited, and sometimes we get defeated and we get, down and we get, discouraged, and then we lose that steam and that fire. But this is today. I want you to reignite it. Something that you really, really wanted. I
Yeah.
always think of myself as a racehorse. I am ready to go. I am a winning racehorse. I know it deep in my soul. Maybe I haven't had the results before, but I know I have it. I know that God has planted a seed in my heart, and this is what I want. I've wanted it my whole life, and sometimes I wish, like, oh God, I wish I didn't want this because I can't seem to make it happen. So I am this horse in the stable, ready to go. I'm at the gate. I'm ready to go. I'm going. I'm going. But there's a gate in front of me. And then there's another gate in front of me, and there's another gate in front of me. And so I'm ready to go. I'm revving. And I get rid of this gate, which is a thought. And then I go, and then I hit another one, and then I get rid of it, and I go. I have all the power to go. I don't need any more power. We have all the energy we ever need. The thing we need is to get rid of something. It's not always something we have to do. It's something we have to get rid of. And whoosh, we just have a clear path. So that's what Kate was saying. And I just love visuals. So just think of yourself as this revving, winning racehorse, which we all are. And all we have to do is just get rid of all of the blocks and the barriers and the gates that are trying to hold us back.
I love that. I love that visual, Carla. That's awesome. Because it is, you get so far and then you hit something else. And that's really where you develop the muscle,
Yes.
right? That's really where the inner muscle is developed, the inner muscle of the mind. The mind is a muscle. People think that they think all day. And a lot of it is just mental activity.
Yeah.
It's not really thinking. Thinking is deliberate. It's thinking about something specific that you want to create. You could be thinking about something that you don't want to create, but that's not where you want to go. When you talk about, I want to go back to what you said earlier, the quote, what the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. And I think it's the belief part where coaching and programs can fill that gap. When a person comes where they have something that they want to achieve, maybe it's a person that maybe you've tried a dozen things and it hasn't worked out. It doesn't mean that the thing is not for you. It just means that maybe you haven't connected with the right resource to help you develop that belief. I think that's where ideally a coach can be very powerful in standing in the gap for someone when it comes to believing. I know how I have people in my life, Carla being one of them, that can stand in the gap for me when I say that I want to do something, but I'm a little bit short on belief in that moment. But to have people be able to speak that belief in you and call that greatness out of you, because if the idea came to you, if the idea or the image came to you, it's meant for you.
Yeah. Yep.
It's meant for you, not for somebody else. And, like Carly, you said, sometimes I'm like, okay, God, maybe that's a little bit too big, like, let's cool it down a little bit. Give that to somebody else. Give me something smaller. And I was with a group the other day and we were talking about goal setting. And many of them said that they made their goal smaller, like they lessened their goal. And I was like, oh no, I thought to myself, we're not going there.
Yeah.
Like there is no playing small.
Right.
Whatever it is that you want, that's the idea that came to you. And when we minimize what we want, we're actually minimizing the power that's within us because it takes less power to achieve a smaller goal.
Right. If it was handed to you, you have everything you have within. If it was
Yes.
handed to you, it's an assignment. I always say it's an assignment.
Yes.
And it's not easy. It's like if this was easy, everybody would be doing it. It can be joyous and we can find the tools to make it easy and fun. But at first, it's like it can be overwhelming and it can shut us down, which for most people it does. So Kate is spot on. If you truly, and again, this is everybody's at different places in life. I used to listen to these and I used to get entertained and inspired. However, I just wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to like ask for help. I thought I knew everything. Like I'm sure people can relate. Like I just was like, yeah, I could do it on my own. But again, if I could go back, I would have reached out for help. I would have gotten an accountability partner. I would have gotten a coach. I would have gotten a mastermind, alliance together. And now I do have a mastermind. I am coached one-on-one through somebody that I absolutely respect and who helps me and fills in those gaps. And I study with a program. I'm a student first. So if you are in a place where you have something within you that you just can't find a way to creatively express it and make it come to pass, what Kate is saying, please take it to heart. You can. All you have to do is just take that next step into the next version, and it's already done on a level, on a level of energy. It's already done on the level of the mind and our imagination. It
Yeah.
exists in an intangible form. And back to Kate, what Kate was saying, and I'm sure we'll wrap up in just a couple minutes, but what Neville Goddard says, thinking from your goal, thinking from your wish fulfilled, already be there in imagination. And earlier I was searching through all of my drawings. I always do these little doodles to make this image more impactful. And I used to teach a Neville course, and this was an old drawing that I always use. We were working on small goals, and this woman wanted a pool in her backyard, and her husband promised her for over 20 years, we're going to build this pool. We're going to build this pool. And she goes, this is the year. I want a pool in my backyard. I said, okay, let's use this as an example. And so let's think from your pool. Don't think of your pool. So don't think of your goal. Don't think of it as in the future, because there's no future. We only have the present moment. So I would encourage you to use the faculty of your imagination to not think of your dream, of your desire, of your goal. I want you to think from your goal. So this is the image that we made for her. And so this is her thinking of her pool. And I said, no, we're not going to think of your pool because it's somewhere in the future. It doesn't exist. Let's use the faculty of your imagination and let's think from your pool. You're already in the pool. Imagine yourself laying in the water, enjoying the sunlight, feeling, hearing, smelling. How would it be? Would you hear the birds chirping? Would you feel the cool water on your skin? Think from your dream and your desire already fulfilled. Don't think of it, because that is putting it in the future. You're already there. It exists in your imagination, and that will create that belief, and that will put you in that vibration. And the vibration really is just an emotional state. And it is the emotional state that attracts. We are electromagnetic beings. Our thoughts are electric. Our feelings are magnetic. So however you feel about your goal through using the faculty of your imagination will put you in the right vibration, and you will attract naturally by law everything that you desire. But it's a step and it's a process. So reach out to Kate. She is an amazing coach and an amazing teacher. Even if you just want to learn more information about all the stuff we're talking about here, please reach out to Kate, reach out to myself, and we would be happy
either
to
one of
answer
us.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah, either one of us. Carla, that is such a perfect analogy, because I think most people have been sitting on the sideline of a pool, on a pool deck. And so they know what it's like to be sitting, looking at the pool or thinking of the pool, and then going into the pool and looking outside from inside the pool, from inside the water. That is such a great analogy. I love it. Thanks for bringing that drawing in. I really appreciate that. So yeah, everyone, listen, we are here on the first and third Wednesday of every month. My pal Carla here, reach out to one of us, like ask questions. Let us know what you're thinking, how you're liking this. If there's a topic that you would love for us to talk about, we are definitely open to receiving suggestions and requests and all of that. So this is really meant for you. It's meant to create awareness that the power is inside of you. And the principles and the ideas that we'll share here with you, if you put these into practice, you are going to get results. You'll be on your way. If you need guidance and direction and you would love that, reach out to one of us and we'd be happy to share all of the amazing things that we have to support you.
Yes.
So I think that's it, Carla. Thank you so much for your time today. Love you so much.
Love you.
And yeah, we'll connect again soon.
All right.